You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as a Market Fresh mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I had the opportunity to chat with my friend Joseph Solis, the founder of Maison Solis, has carved a unique path in the luxury world, blending his passion for fine spirits with an appreciation for craftsmanship and cultural heritage. With years of experience in the spirits industry, Joseph has expanded his vision to include not only agave-inspired fragrances like Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo, but also a line of meticulously crafted luxury bar tools. These tools, which include hand-hammered copper shakers with gold-adorned accessories, are designed for those who appreciate the art of mixology. In this interview, Joseph shares his journey from tequila connoisseur to luxury brand innovator, discussing how his heritage and expertise in fine spirits shape both his fragrances and his bar tool line, creating an experience that honors tradition while embracing modern luxury. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite cocktail, and enjoy the show. Joseph, welcome to Served Up. I'm really happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here after being with you for 3 days in Los Angeles. After our bonding time and our conversations, I am honored to be here with you today, Bridget. Thank you.
You are welcome. So wonderful. Can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself, Joseph? Where did you come from? Where did you grow up? And what brought you into the beverage industry?
Wow. That's interesting. So my name, first of all, Joseph D. Solis. I am CEO and founder of originally Soul Hospitality Group, still Soul Hospitality Group, but also a little company that we'll talk about today called Maison Solis. So I am actually born and raised in a very small town in California by the name of Watsonville, California. And between Monterey and Santa Cruz, I come from very humble beginnings, Bridget. You know, my family picked agriculture. So I am of and for the earth in terms of sustainability and really connecting to, the earth and to people who produce and feed the world. That was my family. That is my family. So it's very close to my heart. It's funny because the town that I grew up in, how I kind of got into hospitality, I started working really, really early. And this is actually part of the story when we'll get into on the perfume side. So I started working early. It wasn't so much that I wanted to go out and have ice cream and buy skateboards. It was literally because I had to contribute to my household to ensure that the lights were on and that there was food on the table. So life started lifing very early for me. And in retrospect, as much as it was about having to step it up, it also taught me some of the best virtues to this day: resilience, hard work, focus, responsibility, all of those wonderful things. And so it's interesting that we're getting into a conversation around hospitality, tequila. I started working when I was 16 at a local restaurant. That's owned by the Espinosa family, which coincidentally today are the purveyors of Arte Nom Tequila. So I literally learned my hospitality from Jose Espinosa, a stickler, literally a stickler. I wouldn't say the nicest way of training, but it taught me everything that I know, down to the details of hospitality, serving. And I was very young, but of course, sneaking in, tasting cocktails. So that really was my first. I come from a really large family, Bridget. There's probably, I think I'm the first grandchild of 28. There's probably another 15 after me, 8 aunts and uncles. So all in one town. And
Huge
my role,
family.
huge family. So my role in the family since I can remember has always been hospitality, making sure that the food is right. As I got older, literally creating these wonderful festive, moments for my family, all including a themed cocktail since I was 15 years old. So my family knows batching 101. Literally, we have either a vodka
I
or a
love it.
tequila.
I love it.
Yep. So my family is very familiar with cocktails. They may not be as fancy as we like them when I serve them, but they are definitely on point. So, and thematic.
What were some of the lessons? And you mentioned a few of the lessons that you learned, growing up in hospitality, especially in a big family. I too come from a very large family. It's just me and my brother, but I grew up with 10 aunts and uncles and 16 cousins within 5 miles of me. And even today, I have over 55 family members within 5 miles of me. 9 live on my street. So I totally get it. But there's some real lessons, right?
Yeah.
That we take away at our adulthood. And when you say, you really wanted to be thoughtful and pay attention to the flavors of what you were presenting back to your family, was that, a form of consideration and love? Was it that you knew that they were very picky on what they wanted to eat?
Yes. Family's very, very picky. So I've introduced quite a few things to my family that are now adapted, which I'm very proud of, that are a little more eclectic than what they would like to think that they eat. But honestly, I think what it really boils down to, in terms of family, in terms of producing these moments of connection and these moments of bonding through music, food, dance, and drink. For me, it really is a calling, an ancestral calling, to be honest. It is my heritage. It is the flavors of our people. It is the recipes. It is the coming together through joy. That's when I really started to break down in my adult years about power, passion, and purpose. The answers still come to me, but one of my purposes on this earth is to bring people together to create moments of joy. And that really what has fueled my entire career. And it also was the main ingredient, if you would, in launching Maison Solis as well. So it's a little deeper. It's a connection to these recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation. When we look at, it's funny because I come from a family, half of them are tequila drinkers, like hardcore, whiskey drinkers. There's a couple of brands that my family are just, dedicated. But the family does get separate, and there's family members that haven't spoke in 20 years because of football teams.
Oh, yeah. I always say we have so many in my family, but if you don't like one, talk to the other one.
Listen, we are hardcore 49er fans, and half of my family is hardcore Raider fans, and it has literally caused fights to this day that people still don't speak.
That is wild. But I feel you. I understand, coming from a very large family, the dynamic can be interesting, to say the very least, right? Can you?
And I don't know if you're dealing with this. What I think is interesting is, growing older and watching as family starts to separate and grow, and the next generation leaves, and people age, and fighting for these traditions to kind of stay together. Or what I'm forced to do right now is creating new traditions, right?
Yeah.
Traditions. We're not in the same era. We're no longer a nuclear family. I moved to New York. I'm now in LA. Family is just spread out everywhere. Grandparents passing, family members passing. It's the new that I think a lot of us don't talk about when we talk about family bonding, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I love that, the new. And I do think that it's important to create those new traditions, right? That do keep some of us together, and to continue to have those moments of joy and happiness, right? And the family culture can then continue to live on, maybe in a new way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Part of
So,
Maison Solis.
yes, well, I'm excited to talk about Maison Solis because I think that your journey is fascinating. And you are the first person that I have ever met, and perhaps the first person in the beverage industry to turn their passion for hospitality into a scent, into multiple scents.
To
And
multiple
so I would
senses.
love to understand from you, and I think our listeners would be quite curious as well. What did that moment look like for you, Joseph, when you said, you know what? I'm going to create a perfume that is an expression of spirits that I know so well, because it is just like such a wild concept, but it
Yeah,
makes at the same time so much sense. So, what was
it
that
really
moment like
does.
for you?
Well, I think spirits and fragrance go hand in hand. They always have. You can look at some of the top fragrances in the world. Brands like Killian, who've put out apple brandy and vodka on the rocks, and you look at a lot of these niche fragrances, or even the bigger houses, and you'll see, part of the ingredients that they use are a whiskey barrel, or rum accord or something, right? So it's not so far fetched because spirits, and when you take a look at the evolution and even the distillation of oils, it's very similar to the distillation of spirits, right? So the process is very similar. Blending, right? As my background in cognac, blending eau de vie is very similar to blending fragrances. So it wasn't that far fetched, but my obsession with fragrance started, as I mentioned, really early when I was around 13. What little money that I did have left over, I would run to, JC Penney's or Macy's or Sears or whatever it is, right? And buy perfume. And perfume for me, of course, at that point I joke and say it was shit perfume because it really was eau de toilette. By the time you leave the store, it can't smell it anymore because it's so much alcohol and water and, but at that point, I didn't know any better. When we know better, we do better. As I started to travel and, work and, have money, then I obviously learned more. But at that point, fragrance for me really was escapism. It was fantasy. It was inspiration. I would smell fragrances and it would take me to another place. And it was places that I wasn't at in that moment. And not that I'm not proud of those moments because I'm very proud, but being able to aspire higher and bigger was big for me, and I didn't know how. And aside from reading books and, poetry and self help and all that wonderful stuff that I would find on PBS, I didn't have many resources. So fragrance was one of those for me. So that's where it really started. I've always known that I wanted to have a fragrance line and I wanted to tell scent stories. I didn't know that what it was called, but there's certain things that I remember in life that bring up something for me when I smell something and I'm like, oh my God, I remember being in this place at this moment and what it felt like and the joy that it brought, or, all those kind of things. So, I've been in, as we kind of mentioned at the top, I've been in wine and spirits for 27 years. Yes, I started in kindergarten, Bridget.
Yes, you did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned to you, the restaurant that I started working at back home, at like 16 or 17, I started doing a lot of their promotions. I didn't even know what it was called then, but we were on the beach. So I was doing the Cuervo, beach volleyball tournaments, making flyers at Kinko's and like, doing these things that I had no idea that would shape my career and start an agency and, work for some of the biggest spirit brands in the world. So I've always been in that. After, I left home and I went to college in San Francisco, I was in the nightclub industry. So I was making, strategic partnerships with spirit brands, bundle purchases way before bottle service. I mean, they were talking the 90s here. But yeah, working with wine and spirits at that point, creating drink specials. I wasn't really dabbling into the cocktail space yet as much as it was more transactional in business. But I understood my consumer. I understood this 21 to 35-year-old consumer in the Bay Area made up of multiple ethnic races. I understand, consumption patterns. I understand trends. So creating these opportunities to plug and play, I was doing when I was 17 years old. So yeah, after that, I moved to New York and I started working at agencies on spirit brands, and the rest is history. Oftentimes people ask, why did I launch my fragrance line with tequila or agave? So Maison Solis fragrance is our premier collection is homage to Mother Agave, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But Mother Agave and expressions of tequila. So, my background really did start in the agave space, specifically around tequila, as I mentioned, working with Cuervo when I was, 16, 17 years old. But in 2005, I recruited 9 individuals for the first ever tequila ambassador program for Diageo when I was working at a company called US Concepts. Before that, it was MKTG. And it was the first ever ambassador program within the tequila space. And I remember vividly, I was having a talk with Rebecca Quinones, who I'm sure that you know from the business. And we were laughing because one of the first assignments that we had was a folding table in the corner of a bulletproof liquor store with this wood box with an odd shaped bottle that literally nobody wanted to taste. And little would you know that that would become 1942. But back then, nobody wanted to take. We would beg people to do a tasting, on a shitty folding table.
Oh my gosh.
In the corner. Yes, those are the things that we have been responsible for. So, in that experience beyond tequila, I also worked on brands like Crown Royal. I actually was part of the launch of Ciroc pre-celebrity when it was coming out of innovation as a grape French vodka. Tanqueray, worked on Tanqueray for many years. Smirnoff, all the whole Diageo portfolio. And then crossed over into working with Moet Hennessy, and the rest is history. So
such a fascinating story. It really is. You're an expert on so many spirit categories. It's just, it's amazing. It really is. You get a lot of guests on here that, really pinpoint just into, they're kind of pigeonholed, right? But you really have had that experience almost like just across the board. How lucky are you?
Yeah, not only within spirits and expert, I'm going to kind of, that's a really intense word. But the great part I think that matters in this business is that I love spirits, right? I don't consume as much as I used to. My need states have changed, but I appreciate spirits every opportunity that I get, right? And it's the nuances, and it's just finding that little, golden new spirit. And I love it. It's part of my passion. So one of my passions, as I mentioned to you before, food, fragrance, and all the finer things in life that I love so much.
Well, I would love for our listeners to understand really, that path that you took to create Maison Solis.
Sure.
So, once you decided, I am going to create the essence of agave, I am going to really, it sounds like you really are just following your childhood dream, right? Which is so incredible and so beautiful. What steps did you have to take? Did you know how to begin such a big project? And what were some of the challenges that you overcame?
That is such a great question. I had, probably still don't, have no idea how to do it. As I mentioned, I come from very humble beginnings. Picking lettuce and strawberries is very different than being, an heir to a, French fragrance house. Didn't have the money, didn't know how, didn't have the team, didn't have, the attorney, didn't have the perfume, nothing. I literally started from nothing. But at this point I was working, I was in this, the business, I was doing, events, I was doing cocktails, I was doing all that fun stuff, but always kind of going back to this idea of dabbling until I had to kind of put a stake into the ground. I saved up money. To this day, Maison Solis is still self-funded. I have no investors yet. Yes. So I've sunk my entire life savings, and there is no plan B, Bridget. There is no plan B. So, but if you know Joseph, you know me, a Leo, that's what we do, right? You jump off a cliff with no safety net, and you make a contract with your higher power. In my case, it's God, that everything will be okay. So that's my meditation every morning. But anyways, I didn't know how to do it. We have to take a look at the a couple of things. One of them is the fragrance industry in general is a predominantly French, luxury commodity. It still is. There's a lot of barriers to entry for people like me that look like me that have my background. We're a niche fragrance. We're not one of the major houses, which I love because it gives us permission to do whatever the hell we want to do. But there's a lot of barriers to entry that I had to work out, and I just had to buckle down. So Sol Hospitality Group is my agency, and we are a liquid to lips agency for the wine and spirits. We've been in business since 2009. We've worked with every major house in the business from, like I mentioned, Diageo, Bacardi, Moet Hennessy, William Grant. I mean, we've worked with them all in some way, shape, or form. Our capabilities at Sol Hospitality Group start with, spirit strategy, literally strategy, go-to-market strategy, cocktail programs, occasionality, advocacy. We work within creation. We do events. I mean, we kind of do it all. Edutainment is kind of our sweet spot. So, some of the best ambassadors out there in the world right now have trained through me and Sol Hospitality Group, and I consider a lot of these my children. So,
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, walking into Taylor's ECB, I feel like auntie, like walking in and it's like, oh, these are all my children on panels and, moving around in the world. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's kind of my pieces of me, my contribution in the business, I'd like to think. But Maison Solis, really stake into the ground. Post-pandemic, we were doing an event. It's 4:00 in the morning, 16-hour day, sciatica acting up, limping around, looking at my team of young, energetic guys. And it's like, okay, Joseph, what are we going to do? We need to pivot. I need to think about legacy. I need to think about passion. What does life look like 2.0 when you've been in this business since you were 16 and you're now in your 40s and you have no idea what's next? You have, Gen X and millennials who are now on TikTok and Instagram coming for you. I think we talked a lot about this with everybody at the LA Spirit Awards. Our generation and this new generation that will put out a vodka soda and get 1 million, likes and follows on TikTok, but God forbid they can make a real cocktail if they're behind the bar, right? I like to call them the Bardashians, but we'll leave that.
Oh, you need to coin that and put it on a t-shirt.
It's everywhere. It's not just me. But I live in LA, so I know that firsthand. How about that? But anyways, and no shade to them. Like, honestly, like, get in where you fit in, fake it till you make it has been two of my mantras. It got me into New York City. It got me into where I needed to be. I didn't know at some point, I had to learn. Somebody taught me. So long story short, pivoting, I said, it's time for Maison Solis. So we actually launched with our Bar Essentials line, which I need to get to you as well, by the way. Our Bar Essentials line, I worked with the 4th generation copper cooperage in the mountains of Michoacan, Mexico. So they are purveyors of copper goods. And so I created a Bar Essentials line, shaker, strainer, jigger, bar spoon, muddler, and it was quite a labor of love. It is artisanal, 100% handmade, hand painted, takes anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to create one piece. And, we launched to the world in 2023 because of the cold conditions in the mountains of Michoacan. We missed holiday, which set us back quite a lot. So we ended up launching on 1/11, which is an angel number, in January of 2024. The whole time I had been developing a fragrance. I've developed many fragrances in my head. I have notebooks upon notebooks. So Maison Solis is a luxury lifestyle brand that's rooted in cocktail culture, created to celebrate life's beautiful moments. So it kind of goes back to when we talked about as a child, one of my purposes in life is to create moments and bring people together to celebrate life and joy. So this definitely fell in strategy with what my purpose was. Obviously working in wine and spirits in the cocktail space for 25 years and merging it with my heritage, was very important to me. So could have easily gone to China, India, Turkey even, but no, I wanted to make these artisanal pieces coming out of Mexico.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, we launched with that. And then the whole time I had been working on the fragrance line. So I had to start from nothing. I had to start from scratch, Bridget. How the hell do I do this? I originally was working with a wonderful, wonderful mentor of mine by the name of Joseph Cortana, who has won many awards, took me under his wing. We were starting to move, and then the pandemic happened. And there was a shortage of oil, a shortage of steel, a shortage of everything. I call it kismet. I call it divine timing because I don't really think I was ready at that moment. I thought I was ready. Like many things I look back on and say, shit, should have, you should have given it some time. I wasn't ready. And the universe said, Joseph, okay, we're just going to make a pandemic so you can create your fragrance when it's ready. So anyways, coming out of that, I said, all right, Joseph, let's do it. What's closest to me? Okay, let's get this going. And instantly I thought, every fragrance that we are going to put out, not just this collection, we'll be putting out a collection every year or so. I'm already working on 2026, 2027 right now, but every single theme, every collection will have a wine, spirit, or a cocktail integrated into the scent story.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Because you know what? It makes it collectible as well. Like you just want to keep adding, right?
Right.
Oh, this is very exciting.
Yeah, I want to keep adding and want to keep holding the integrity and being a cheerleader for our industry of wine, spirits, and cocktails, right? Just holding to a story that some people put out books. I put out perfume.
Yeah.
And we'll also, we're dabbling on quite a few things, accoutrements for the bar. When it comes to Maison Solis, I explain to people, like, imagine if you would close your eyes. Imagine if you would, you've quote unquote made it, whatever that looks like for you, in this gorgeous home that you've had built to spec. And in your living room is a room filled of people that you absolutely love and adore, friends, family. And in that moment, everything that's making that vibe is Maison Solis. So the room smells like Maison Solis. The cocktail cart is Maison Solis. The glassware, the linens, the bar tools, everything is fueled by Maison Solis. And maybe even a spirit one day is Maison Solis. Who knows, right? You never know. Like, let's get through these next 4 years and then we'll talk about it. But...
Yes. Let's get through the hellscape that we live in now.
Jesus. So I decided to focus on a more deeper kind of spiritual connection, and that was Mother Agave. So I like to explain to people, for me, Mother, agave, tequila, sotol, mezcal are great and they're fun. And, but this was not about, over consuming, standing on the bar in your boxers, raging and throwing up, that's not what this was about. This was the Mother Agave, our ancestral mother, who has provided and given us the nectar of the gods for so long. This was an homage to the people that are connected to Mother Earth, like my family, who were picking lettuce and strawberries and feeding the world. This is the folks in Tequila in Mexico, in the highlands, and in the lowlands, picking agave and or harvesting agave and creating this indigenous spirit that has turned into what we know now as tequila. So that was first for me, and it was grounded in spirit, which felt right. Of course, we have to juice it up and, make it sexy and marketable and all of that fun stuff, which is where I really went deep into the story of each of the fragrances that I'd love to take you through if you're okay with it.
I am so excited for this. Can I just tell you, I have my box that you sent to me of the samples of your fragrances. Yep. And I just want to add, so yes, when it came in, I was so excited. So excited. I sprayed them on me. I sprayed them on my husband. My mother was over. She got some on her too. And we were all so excited about this because I feel like there's not a gender to this. Absolutely. It smells lovely on me. My husband, he's already irresistible, made him even more yummy. And my mom just thought it was the most cool. She is 80 years old. She's like, oh, she just thought it was the best thing. She's like, I smell so good. I mean, and it lasts all freaking day.
It does.
I just couldn't get, my husband was telling me that too, because he went off to work. He comes home, he goes, I still smell like this. He's like, it's just like his colognes that we buy that are so expensive.
Right.
Don't stick. So whatever you're doing, I'm excited for this moment.
Thank you. We cut no corners. So thank you for acknowledging we are genderless. We don't use the word unisex anymore. We got almost canceled for using that word in this environment. So we are genderless, and that was intentional because I firmly believe, which is part of the company ethos, that smelling good and feeling good, but more importantly, beauty sees no gender. Yeah. So that was very, very important.
And no age.
No age, no gender, no sexuality, no race, no anything. Like, feeling good is our gift from the universe. And I just want to create things that empower that and make people feel amazing and gorgeous and beautiful. So that was very, very important.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So to begin with, I have to acknowledge the person that I co-created with. So I am the founder, creative director, my concept, all of that good stuff, but I'm nothing without a technical person that can bring this to life. So I partnered with a gentleman by the name of Ethan Turner. And the reason why we bonded from the very first second that we met is that he is a sommelier turned perfumer. With my background in wine and spirits and a collector, adorer, and now purveyor, it was just a match made in heaven. No learning curve. Literally, we jumped in. Ethan Turner, he's actually African American. So understanding flavor nuances, understanding cultural perspectives as it pertains to scents that are indigenous to us collectively as people of color was just a match made in heaven, right? So we jumped in. 138 versions later, you're smelling in your discovery set how long it took. Bridget, was a fucking stickler.
138. Can we just pause for just a second? Because that's crazy.
Yes, very crazy.
Your poor nose.
There was times where, we would be speaking at 6 p.m. and I had the samples that were sent to me and we just couldn't get it right. I can't explain it. I'm like, bro, I am literally using my miles. I'm jumping on a 6 a.m. flight and I'm coming to you so we could work together live. I went a little crazy, but this was my first introduction to the world. This was my baby. It had to be right. There was no cutting corners. So we did not cut corners anywhere. What you're talking about on the dry down and staying on the skin for 10 to 12 hours, intentional. That we used literally oil. So I don't know if you or the listeners know, so I'll kind of give you a little kind of quickie on terms of how fragrance works. So
please do.
Eau de Toilette is basically 0 to 8, maybe pushing to 10% oil, the rest alcohol. Cologne gets you into the 10, 12 space. Eau de Parfums can start anywhere 16. And then we get into extrait, which is 25% plus. We're talking Harrod 6th floor, $6,000 for an ounce of oud extrait, right? So we play within the Eau de Parfum space. Our fragrances are anywhere from 18 to 22% oil, which is why the longevity lasts along the skin. There's also something called linear perfume. So there are perfumes that you put on that literally smell the same from the moment you put it on until it ends, the experience ends 8, 10, whatever hours later. We are not that. We are not linear. Our fragrances will change every 20, 30 minutes. It will smell different in 2 hours. And it was intended to be lively. It was intended to reflect the energy of agave spirits, the turquoise green of the agave plants. Like, we wanted it lively. We wanted it living like life. So that was also intentional, right? Another term is solage. And what that really means is that if you walk into a room and your trail where everyone says, who is that? Like, that's called solage. So we needed to ensure we knew who our consumer was. They are also young. They're all ages, but our young consumer, they are, influential in their own spaces. They make statements. So we wanted to create a fragrance that was also that as well. So checking all those boxes from a quality standpoint was first and foremost, but getting the flavor profiles down right that held the integrity to the SKUs, aka Blanco Reposado Añejo, that matched the art of tequila making was my first priority. So we can actually start with Blanco. Okay, so Blanco that's what you're holding now. And for those of you who aren't able to see this and are listening, you can go to maisonsolis.com, www.maisonsolis.com. That's not just a sales pitch, but it will allow you to see what we're talking about as you're listening. So Blanco, as you know, being the spirit judge aficionado like, myself, it was very important that we actually created something that complemented Blanco tequila. Now, the first thing we get is, oh my God, am I going to smell like tequila? No, you're not going to.
No, you don't.
But it
don't smell like tequila.
Inspired by tequila, more importantly, inspired by agave. So there's something that we should probably start with before we jump into the different fragrances. There's something called an accord in our business, right? An accord is a base. It is something that's created. So a lot of these perfumes that you see that will have a whiskey or a rum accord means somebody somewhere in the world created an accord. It's almost a cheat sheet, not in a bad way, but it's something to start from. That then you can build a fragrance. There was no such thing as an agave accord in the world. We had to create that from scratch. So,
oh my gosh, Joseph.
Basically, imagine trying to take the essence of agave and making it into an accord. It had to be grassy. It had to be earthy. It had to be all these wonderful things that we love so much about raw agave, not roasted agave, but raw agave from the piña, cut down, in tequila, right? So finding that also took us a few months, but it was incredible. So going into Blanco. So I like to tell the story. The inspiration was the first time I ever went on a tequila trip with the distributor and the marketing team. This is 2005. We were in the highlands of specifically Atotonilco, which, the highlands, the red soil with the ants, the beautiful, as I mentioned, sort of turquoise agave, the sun, sort of kissing your skin with that cool breeze. That literally was the inspiration for Blanco. And to create that, I used a couple of different ingredients, Ethan and I rather. So first and foremost, what you're going to get on the top is going to be citrus, not just lime. There's also some grapefruit and there's a little bit of bergamot. So that is going to be an ingredient, right?
I just love it.
And the dries down a little different. If you smell it when we're done or half hour, an hour, you'll start to see that it starts to play around. Two other things that I want to call out for Blanco. The middle note that you're going to get is coconut. And people say, coconut, that's interesting. Why coconut? So there's two reasons. One of them is, as you know, late 1500s, early 1600s, ships come to Mexico. There's interexchanges with the Philippines. I didn't know if I told you at top, but I'm actually I'm Mexican and I'm Filipino. So one of the things that this pays homage to is the Filipinos teaching Mexico how to distill spirits. Tubal, in Colima area where there's coconuts. This was an indigenous coconut spirit. The distillation process is what taught, folks how to make tequila, sotol, mezcal. So this is literally in our wine and spirits geeky world, an homage to that exchange of cultures that the Filipinos taught distillation to Mexico to create what we know now. So it's very intentional. Okay.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
It is so lovely. And it's not like pungent or over the top. It's just right. Like you can smell that sweet and the citrus, and it does change. You're absolutely right.
So let me ask you, maybe you read the marketing materials, but can you guess what the next ingredient is that grounds it? Don't read the... I'll tell you. So as we know, Blanco tequila, even Joven tequila, Plata, Silver, whatever you want to call it, doesn't touch wood. So traditionally doesn't touch wood. Now there's so many inner categories, Jovens and all these things. Traditionally, go straight from distillation into the bottle. So how could we round it out and make it lusciously boozy, but without smelling like wood? So we added and was inspired by my 20 years in cognac. So there's a cognac eau de vie. Oftentimes, tequila is aged in cognac barrels as well. So this is an homage also to my background working in the cognac space and merging it with my, heritage and my work in the tequila space. So that's what rounds it out. A symphony of citrus. You have coconut, cedar, a touch of rose, and then you have it grounded and the booziness coming from a cognac eau de vie.
I mean, it's so elegant.
Thank you.
Truly. And it is complex because every time I smell my wrist, as I'm doing now, folks can't see it, but I'm picking up on so many different nuances, right? Yeah. It's lovely.
Thank you, Bridget. I appreciate that. Coming from you with your background and your expertise, I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you. It truly was a labor of love. People love this. We basically say this is a great entry point into the collection. And one thing to note, it's like somebody who drinks Blanco and I give them the Añejo perfume and they're like, oh, it's so strong. I was like, well, what do you drink? They're like, Blanco. Of course you're not going to like Añejo. Somebody who likes Añejo, like at Tales last year, every bartender I knew was walking around with Añejo. It's a bartender thing, right? Blanco's too light. It's too airy. It's like, might as well drink vodka. You know what? But
you know what, though? I think you have something here for every season. Like I would wear the Blanco now. I would wear it in the spring.
Yes.
And in the summer. And then maybe as I roll into like the fall, maybe then I wear like the Reposado. And then because I live in Illinois and we do get all 4 freaking seasons, unfortunately, sometimes, I would definitely then roll into the Añejo for, our winter months, which sometimes lasts usually about 5 months out of the year.
Yep. The other way that we look at it as well, aside from seasonality, occasionality, we also look at it like in a 24-hour sort of pattern from our consumer. So you can put this on in the daytime, Blanco, and it's perfect for work right after the gym, right? You can transition into Reposado for happy hour. And then, our friend Clyde Davis, who is also a fellow judge of ours with the LA Spirit Awards, says that this is the after hours scent that if you want to seal the deal. The Añejo.
I love it. Well, let's dive into the Reposado.
Yes, absolutely. So Reposado for me, inspiration, and I think you and the listeners will appreciate this. That second that those doors open from the agave roasting, right? That second that it opens and the steam just releases from those doors, you smell the essence of cooked agave, right? So for me, there was a couple of things. That was the inspiration, but also, that same trip, we all, there's a group of us and the sun started going down and it was really the golden hour where I'm looking at all of my friends in the agave fields and all I see is silhouettes against a backdrop of the sun setting. Like this is the essence of Reposado for me from a perfume standpoint, where daytime starts to flirt with the mystique of night, right? Where you're about to, after a long day, let a little loose and start to enjoy a beautiful dinner and cocktails and friends. And that to me is what the essence. So what goes into this? So Reposado for us is a few things. The thing for me that's in here that everyone loves so much is that at the base note, there is the essence of, well, before we get to the base, so we needed a citrus that wasn't bright. It couldn't have been, because it's roasted, it couldn't have been lime, couldn't have been grapefruit. So the citrus inspiration for this one was blood orange, which makes it really deep. It's a deeper type of citrus, right? You're definitely going to get the baking spices of roasted agave. So the essence of roasted agave, the honey, the caramel, the cinnamon, all of those wonderful spices. But what really grounds this and makes it boozy and people like us in the industry that love is the essence of charred whiskey barrel. So you'll definitely pick up on some whiskey barrel. And that's what tequila.
You really do. And it almost reminds me a little bit of a rick house.
Nice.
If you've spent any time in a rick house, especially, in Louisville and Bardstown, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that is the inspiration of Reposado. I'd like to say just when I think one is popular, it kind of goes in the other direction. So again, like people love for different reasons. This is definitely a sexier side of fragrance. The first one was a little more soft and, approachable. This is starting to get into more, I think, again, the mystique and the flirtatiousness of night. So that is the Reposado. And then jumping into Añejo.
Yes,
So
let's go there.
I had to go there. So this really was created for niche fragrance perfumers who love obscure, who love intense, who love rare. This is not for the faint of heart. When we launched the brand,
I just love this one. Oh my gosh. I can't pick my favorite. I can't pick my favorite, Joseph.
Well, here's the funny thing. When we launched Añejo, because it's so incredibly bold, we launched with a campaign that said, caution, do not wear this Añejo perfume if you are a basic bitch. Be prepared to steal the room. Like, you have to have the confidence to pull this off, because it literally makes you stand out and makes like your boldness come through. So the intentional ingredient in this on the top is something that in Mexico we call flor de Jamaica, also called sorrel in the Caribbean and Africa. And in America, we call it hibiscus. So I don't know if you've been to a taqueria where they have the flor de Jamaica kind of rotating in the drink section. I grew up on Jamaica. It's one of the most beautiful things that I love. It is healing, but it is a combination of sweet, sour. It kind of puts you into that voluptuous space a little bit, and it's bright and it's floral. So that is kind of what we put as the top note. In the middle, you are going to find, of course, wood, cacao. There's definitely a hint of cacao in here. Yeah. So chocolate, cacao. There's a little bit of vanilla bean, those kind of warmer things, but the base. So the base for this is charred sweet rum barrel. So if you go through the collection, you have cognac, you have whiskey, and you have rum.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, thank you. It's bold.
So good. It's bold, but it is, it's complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's so fun. As I go back to it, I just, I really love like the chocolatey toffiness of it. And that has to come from partially from that rum barrel, I would think. But
correct. And the other thing that's in here
really fun
is coffee.
Yes.
We do coffee pairings with this as well.
But like fresh.
We launched the fragrance line last year at Tales, July 24th, which was National Tequila Day. So we worked, our media partner, we had an exclusive, and we launched with our friends at Vine Pair. And we had what now is called the Maison Solis experience. I took that concept from Tales and I'm taking it on the road. So it's a 2-hour event. The first half hour is welcome cocktails, where I've created cocktails from the ingredients of the fragrance. So if we kind of look at how this happened, I took 13 of my favorite tequilas in the world before this perfume line, and Ethan and I broke every single one of them down note by note to build up the fragrance. I then took the notes of the completed fragrance, broke those notes down, and built them up into complementing cocktails. So the first half hour of the Maison Solis experience is welcome cocktails that play up these drinks. It's a sit-down experience. It's white glove, so everyone sits down. There's a tasting mat, and each of the fragrances come out, and we do a sensorial experience of pairing tequila and the fragrance. And in some cases, some of the events, actually, I include a chef, and then we also have a small bite. So it's multi-sensory.
I love this.
Yeah, we should do one in Illinois. Let's host one together.
This is so exciting. It's so exciting.
Absolutely love it. And then, there's a Q&A, and then we end with an añejo on a rock toast. And each guest walks away with the discovery set that you have in your hands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, valued at $60. It's an intro into the Maison Solis fragrance line that ultimately will lead to you purchasing your favorite bottle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I mean, and that is so unique because I never have I ever heard of or have ever experienced an event that pairs, cocktails, the spirit with parfum. I mean, it is just, it's wild.
Thank you. Yeah, it is pretty awesome. I mean, it takes a lot out of me. I hold the room for 2 hours and, but I leave so high, just so happy because people love the fragrance. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me. Like I said, I had one chance, one handshake to the world to do this right. And when it's, my life dream, I had to do it right. And I also, beyond all of that and the commerce, is I had to have respect and honor Mother Agave the right way, right? This could have been some token bullshit. I mean, it could have gone left real quick, right? Had we said, oh my God, we're paying tequila. Can we drink the bottle of perfume?
Right.
The tonality was intentional. The marketing is intentional. The connection to source, all of it, the ingredients, every single part of this is intentional, including the bottle. And I know you have the discovery set, but when you look at the bottle itself,
it is so sexy.
Yeah, it looks like a spirits bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It could be whiskey, it could be tequila, it could be anything. But it also is still very much perfume, right? Because I have two, and this is a really good point considering your audience. I want to make this point from a gratitude standpoint. I have two distinct target consumers. I have the fragrance world, which are hardcore, niche, collectors, fragrance. Breaking into that space has not been easy. I have not cracked the code. Who is this guy putting out a tequila perfume? I am not French. I don't have the resources to compete in that space. I don't have the resources to send out, $200 samples. Like it is what it is. What has saved me, which I will forever be grateful for, is our wine and spirits community. Both the people that work in the industry like yourself, obviously the judges, the purveyors, but more importantly are the consumers that drink and find pleasure in spirits. They have literally made my life. When I launched the brand, I read a meme that said your best friends and your best consumers are going to come from strangers from the internet. And they have. I'm sure with your podcast, you've experienced that as well. And of course, industry folks. And, we did a huge seed campaign. Every bartender that's our mutual friend, got, the discovery set. As I mentioned, we did launch at Tails. So everybody left Tails with fragrance, which is great. But at the end of the day, our colleagues ain't paying. It's consumers. And I will forever be grateful. We get comments every day just championing us. And every single, I have Shopify. Every ding that I get that shows an order, Bridget, I literally will stop. I'll pull over if I'm driving and just say a little gratitude prayer for somebody spending. I would know what it's like to not have those resources, and for somebody spending their hard-earned money on something that I created that ultimately is going to make them smell good and feel good just brings me joy.
It does. And it does. And I'm grateful that you created these beautiful expressions. I mean, they're just, the word for me is just lovely. And they just keep giving, every minute, every moment they change. My little space I'm sitting in right now smells so damn good. I wish you were here with me. I wish that our listeners could smell, but they'll have to buy a bottle so they know what I'm talking about.
Well, maybe we'll do a contest with you, Bridget. Maybe we'll just give away a discovery set and, let somebody try it and love it as much as you do. So
yeah, that would be really fun. Joseph, what's next for you?
Well, we are launching a new agave expression in July at Tails this year. Can't say what it is, but it's probably pretty obvious. The other most popular agave spirit in the world. I am super, super excited, Bridget. When we got back from judging the next day, actually, I had the first samples. And, I'm mushy, like Hallmark Channel mushy. The second I smelled it, I literally cried because I loved it. And it reminded me so much of the spirit, but in such an expressive, beautiful way. So we have that launch dropping, as I mentioned to you before, Maison Solis experience coming to a city near you. I personally am running my ass around like an Avon, selling this shit like Avon. So securing investment for us to be able to create more beautiful things. 2027, you'll see the next collection of Scent Story fragrance. Again, accoutrements that support and enhance the drinking and bonding wine and spirits experience.
Well, I
And
just
and it's interesting.
love it.
People say like, okay, wait, you have a fragrance and then you have a shaker. Like I don't see the connection. And I actually say, okay, so do you know someone by the name of like Calvin Klein or Donna Karan? They're like, yeah. Well, they have a home goods line that has shakers. They also have perfume. They also have glassware. They also have apparel. They also have a lot of things. Like, we are not boxed in. Key word for me is a luxury lifestyle brand. So being lifestyle, that gives me permission to play with anything as long as it checks the boxes that it is grounded in cocktail culture, that it's beautiful, and that it serves a purpose to bring people together and have a good time. I'm good.
And it's quality. Can we not skip over this? Because I know that whatever you put out is going to be quality. So you can feel really good with that purchase, or if you give it as a gift, that you're really giving something very, very thoughtful.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, very much so. There's definitely, there's a lot of grace that went into this, but more importantly, every time somebody sprays, it's an honor. It's an honor.
I love it. Will you come back on Served Up in the future and give us an update on what you're up to? Because I think that I'm very sure that our listeners are going to be so curious on what you're doing, and they're going to want to follow your journey.
Let's come back when I launch the new fragrance, maybe in like late summer or fall, and let's do an unveiling together. You've never smelled it until I'm on with you.
Oh, that would be so fun. You hear that, listeners? We're going to do an unveiling. We will tease the date. You're going to want to watch our socials, and you're going to want to see what's next that's coming out of Joseph, because truly, I've never had an experience like the one that I've had with you even today. You're our first person here ever in the beverage space that I am aware of that has created something like this, inspired by spirits. And it makes so much sense. It really does.
It does. And like I said, and this is, many panels that I've been on at Tales and all of this stuff. Like, I am an advocate for our industry. I'm an advocate. I make sure that there's a seat at the bar for next generation of bartenders. Like, that's really important to me. And one of the things that I always talk about is, okay, great. You shake a cocktail. Like Colin Apia from Bacardi had me on 2 years ago for his Letters to a Young Bartender event at Tales.
I've done that one. It's so touching. It's so great. It's beautiful. So
awesome. I got to share mine with you because I was so stoked that I had a standing ovation. But, there's a couple of things that I shared that I have learned along the way. But it's also like, okay, how are we thinking what's next for you? And I always say, if your intention is to be behind the stick until you are 80, fuck yeah. I'm going to go to your bar. I'm going to support you. I'll find you press. Like, that's cool. But also let this flow into, something, more passionate for you. And it doesn't even mean monetary. Of course, we all need to get paid. That's great. But what else can you do, or what can we do? And I'll coach you to like get you to the next level. As I mentioned, for me, it was fragrance. Some people write, a cocktail book. Some people do a show. Some people create a spirit. Some people create an agency. Like, the opportunities are endless. It's just coincidental that fragrance is something for me that I merged. And it's two of my most favorite things in the world, which is spirits, cocktails, and perfume.
Well, I'm proud of you. And I think what you're doing is wonderful, and it's important, and it's thoughtful. So thank you for following your passion and creating something beautiful for us all. And with that, Joseph, I want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace. And I want to thank you so much for being on our show. And I can't wait to have you back.
I can't wait to be back. And you as well. I mean, I gave you your flowers live in LA a couple weeks ago, and, we don't know each other well, which I love. I absolutely loved that because I saw you in your essence amongst our top peers, and you were so humble and so knowledgeable. It was like a ninja. You
Thank you.
come, you chop, you do your thing, you make an impact. You're not looking for, all the accolades and the glory. And I respect that so much in this world of competition and Instagram and TikTok and all that fun stuff. So I actually want to wish you all the best on this journey and all of your ventures. We will continue to support each other. If you don't mind, I'd love to, give the socials if you don't mind.
Yes, please
So
do. Please do.
at Maison Solis and at JD Solis on all of the socials.
Well, cheers to that. And I can't wait to see you again, Joseph.
Thank you, Bridget. Cheers to you as well.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.